Alright, welcome to the BlingBox assembly video. So this is the BlingBox kit. This is what you'll have when you open up your box. And we're just going to go through each one of the things that came with your kit. First of all, keycaps. This is the scheme we're going to use for this one. Set that aside. And we're going to have some screws. There's going to be 12 4mm screws and 2 8mm screws that are in this package. And then we have 10. These are metric M3 screws. These are for joining the case halves together. And we have the stabilizers. And then we have the accessory kit. And the accessory kit has a keycap puller, which is good. And then it has a block plate for the back for the DB9 future expansion. We have a couple of nice 3M adhesive rubber pads for the back. And then we have a kickstand pair. Also comes with it is this nice screwdriver with a hardened tip designed for the 304 stainless steel screws. And then we have these great quality Gator switches. And last but not least, we have the BlingBox assembly itself. So this is a case with a 2-piece lid. So this is the top. And you can see it has the metal inserts already done. Originally in this kit, I made you do this, but it turns out that most people can't actually do this very easily. So I went ahead and each of these kits I actually have to hand make like this. So, and speaking of hand make, so this is the PCB and it has a dazzler. Originally I was making you put this on too, but this is kind of a sticking point here where you have to have the board perfectly flat. There's actually a black connector, piece of plastic in between. This has to be perfectly flat at the right height here. If it's not, then this won't fit in the bottom of the case unless you stick up as well. And the result of that is people have already destroyed a few of these trying to push down on this board while heating these, and they end up damaging the holes and where the traces go through. So to prevent that from happening, I'm having to hand solder these myself, and it's a little bit of work to do because you have to trim these afterwards, because if you don't, then it won't fit into the base. So, and here's the base, the inside of it where this sits, the back side, and you can see there's spots for the rubber pads, and these are for the kickstands, and this is for a label if you want to create one. I never made a label for it, but I made a spot for it. So you can see where all the holes are for the screws to pass through. So that's the entire kit, and so let's get started. Let's set these things away. Now, I'll say one thing about this case. These look great, and they're great as long as you don't destroy them. This is actually a rubber coated, and I have damaged this one on purpose actually, so you can kind of see what happens. The rubber starts coming off of it if you start like digging into it. So you don't want to dig into it. You can handle it, and it's not a problem for regular use, but if you start nicking it with things, if you drop it, it's going to leave a mark. So just be conscious of that. So we're going to set this aside. And we will set these items aside. So the first thing we're going to have to do, really with this board, since I already did this part of it for you, is we're going to have to put the switches in and then solder the switches. So if you open up your box of Gator switches, you're going to find these are already all open because we steal 2 of the switches out of here. So there's 33 switches in a box, and there's 66 switches total, so you have 2 boxes worth, which makes sense. So because I happen to have thousands of these switches, I'm not going to ruin a good box. So I'm going to go to my setup here, and I'm going to go grab the big box of switches. Okay, I've got my box of switches. I'm gonna start putting these out here. Okay, to put switches in, it's a pretty simple matter. We're just going to zoom in here. We're going to grab a switch, and if the camera will focus, there's a bezel in the switch itself. You can see the lens here. If you flip it over, you're going to find there's a slot here. That slot, the opening, passes a light through to the lens, and you can see where the LED is on the board. So we're going to just put this over top of where the LED is, so it's like this. This is called a 5-pin switch because it has a center body with 2 guide pins and 2 metal pins that are soldered in. So that's why they call it a 5-pin switch. So you notice if we put it on here, it'll rock back and forth until you apply some pressure. Just keep pushing on it, and then eventually it snaps in place. And at that point, you can handle it. It won't come out. It's fine. Make sure it's perfectly flush. You can push down on the plungers fine. That way you can apply pressure to the entire switch body. That's great. And so we just do this for every single one of these. Like this. And it takes a little bit of a time, but just make sure they're all flush. So what I will do is I will probably just fast forward, or I'll come back with this already magically stuffed in. Okay, through the magic of time travel, we've got these switches and put in place. So if you take a look at these, you can see that how much of the pin sticks up through here, and there's actually has too much light. So what we need to do now is solder all of these. So make sure that when you look at, there's no switches that are up. They should all be perfectly flat. If you want to place it like this and then push down on it, that's fine as well. Not a big deal. But we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to actually solder some switches. Now, I had said before in the other videos I had done for the assembly of the Bling board, I would highly recommend using water-soluble flux in your solder. So this is the solder that I use. It's a Kester brand. It's water-soluble for the flux. Now the reason why I like this is, especially on a blackboard, is that you literally use water and like a microfiber towel and just wipe it off. There is no residue. It's kind of like the holy grail for doing this kind of PCB work, where if you don't want to have any kind of residue showing, this is perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in here, and I'm just going to solder a few of these, and then we can fast forward. Position this however you need to be. So, and you can use a blade tip, you can use a round tip, whatever you happen to like for your soldering. I like a blade tip, but I'm going to use a round tip for this little demo here. And I'll clean my soldering tip. So what you want to do is you want to apply heat to the round pad itself, not so much the pen. And what I do is I push straight down, not hard, but just straight down, make contact, and then kind of lean into the pen and then apply the solder. And what you'll see is the solder will actually go around the entire thing and make a nice joint. So again, like this, and wait for it to heat, just like that. And you don't want to have a ton of heat. You just have just enough that's going to melt the solder correctly. And don't leave it on too long, because these little metal pins that pass through are connected to the switch internally, and they can't handle a whole bunch of heat. So you just want to make sure you make a nice quick job at this. So we'll just inspect these solder joints right now. Yeah, these look good. Whoops, we get the camera to focus. Alright, we're going to clean up real quick. So again, we'll take some water and just a microfiber cloth. Let's make it wet. And we're just going to wipe it. Don't worry about getting the circuit board wet, it's not going to hurt anything at all. And then just dry it off with the other side of the microfiber. And now you can see that there's literally there's no residue when you do that, and the solder joints look great. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and solder the rest of these, and we will come back for the stabilizer installation. Okay, we're back, and all soldered, all cleaned up. These look great. Make sure you check every single one of these to make sure they're soldered. The last thing you want to do is do the entire assembly just to find out that you're missing one solder joint. When you run the diagnostic and you see one key doesn't work, you're going to be pretty upset that you have to disassemble the thing from the case to fix it. Okay, so the next step is to build the stabilizers. So this is the stabilizers. I'll just empty these parts out to here. Stabilizers go under the space bar and under the return key, and they are assembled by putting the piece inside. Let's see if I can get the better zoom here on the camera. There we go. Okay, you can put the piece inside. If it doesn't pass all the way through and you can't pull it, then you put it in backwards. So just rotate the part, put it in, and you should be able to freely push this in and out like that. And then locate the side that has a slot, which is the other side here in this case. And we're going to take the wire and we're going to insert it into the slot. And we want to look from this side here, and what you want is the wire to pass through like this, so you can see that you can actually take it with the wire, pull it up and down, and the whole assembly moves up and down. Once you do that, you can rotate this, and then you can push down, and there's little locks that go, each side has a lock. We're going to use this side for this particular installation, and you simply just push and it clicks. And you know if you've done it right because you can actually take the wire and you can just rotate it, and that's that part of it. Okay, so we'll get the other side and we'll do the same thing. We'll push the piece in. Hey, I got lucky. And then we'll locate the slot again. So not this side, it's the other side. And we're going to put the wire into it. Now what we have to do here is we have to figure out which way this needs to go. So you don't want them upside down from each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this so it matches the other side. So my thing did not go through. There we go. Alright, so it matches this side. So they need to be both pointing up. You don't want to have one pointing down, one pointing up. And once you figure that out, then you can simply push on the little latch. And it goes click. And now you have both sides done. So if you rotate the wire, you can see that they will go up and down. Okay, we're going to do the return key stabilizer next. Same thing, we're going to put this in, and of course it's the wrong direction, so we rotate it. There we go. And we'll take our wire and we'll put it into our slot. Make sure it passes through to here correctly, so we can move this up and down, and we'll click it into place. And we'll do the other side. And find our slot. And rotate, make sure it's there. And then this one, we can see that it's the right orientation already. So I'm just going to click it. So now that's that one. And we can test it. Perfect. Okay, so there is one thing you have to do to this first before we actually install this wire. So with these both up, we're going to take this and we're going to add just a little bit of a bend, just a tiny bit of bend. It's kind of a little flex like that. That's it. And you'll see that there's just a tiny bit of a bow, which is what we want. And the reason why I did this, or have to do this, is that the wires that we got originally for this project don't match what was received. And unfortunately, when I designed this, there's a capacitor right here. And with the other wiring, wasn't a problem, but with this particular wire, the way that it was bent, it could touch this and would short out the keyboard. So by adding that little bit of a bow, it gives us ample clearance, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so we have this assembled and ready to put into the keyboard. And you'll see that there's a small hole and a large hole. The small hole is designed for this little tab here, and the large hole is designed for the spring clip that pops out. So remember, our rule of thumb is above and below. So this is going to be above. So what we want to do is take this and we put it into the large hole. Put this one in the large hole like this. So I'm just going to lay it in place. So give you a better view here. You can see this actually goes, this tang goes into this hole like this. And all we're going to do is apply a little bit of pressure, and we're going to wiggle, and then it'll pop into place like that. And we'll do the same thing for this side. Put it into the tang, goes into the hole, a little bit of pressure, it snaps in place. So you'll know if it's right because we can pull up on one and the other will follow. And then we can check our clearance here of the capacitor. And we've got plenty of clearance in there. Doesn't look like a lot of clearance, but there is. If you were concerned about it, just bend the wire a little bit more, but it's fine. The other wire was way away from it before, and this one, the way they ended up bending this, it wasn't. So a little bit surprised when they arrived. Okay, so now we've done that. We're going to do the return. Remember, that's going to go below here. So we're going to take and put these into here. And I have to be honest, this was way more difficult than the space bar is to do. So if you get it in place, and you can wiggle it, and you can see it's right. So wiggle it. So I did find it as a nice cheat. So if you take your screwdriver that comes with your kit, you can actually, you'll see that there's like a little rib piece of plastic right here. If you take this and just push on it like that, it pops into place. So it's, you don't need much pressure either. Just put the tip right there and then push like that. So that's an easy way to do it. And you can check on the back side, you can see that this is where the little tang pops in place, and this is the little spring clip. So these are in, and this is in as well. So that is it. So we've got the entire keyboard is now complete as far as the mechanical portion of it. All we have to do now is put it into the case hab. So let's go grab our case. And I'm just going to put like this. And this just sets in here. Now, the only alignment thing you have to be concerned about, you'll see that these corners all line up. Like here, you can see that lines up. Is right in here, there's actually a tray, a little slot for the DB25 connectors for the sides of it, so it can't pull straight through. And there's a lineup for the USB connector. So the two most important screws in the entire case are these two. Because the fact that these hold this in place when you go to pull things in and out. So these are heavy duty. This is where the two 8mm screws go. All the other screws are the 4mm size screw. And I recommend that you keep it flat we're going to get our screw kit out, and then we're going to locate the 2 long screws, which I will show you. Okay, you can see here's one long screw, and so there is another long screw. So those are the 2, and these are the little guys. And so these 2 screws, those go into the back plane here. So we're going to go ahead and put those in first. So that was actually, this popped out of place. So, and I lost the screw place. Okay. So it's much more difficult assembling something through a camera than it is in real life. Okay, we'll try that again. Okay, so that screw goes in there, and this longer screw goes into here like this. So just take your screwdriver and tighten just a little bit, just so they don't fall out. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with all the little screws too. So each one of these screw holes has to have a screw in it. So I'm going to back out and set this down, and then I will fast forward through this process. Okay, so one thing that we didn't talk about is the screws are very close to the switches and some of the holes. So what you're going to find is that there's a hole right here, and a hole here, and a hole here, and a hole here somewhere there. And so to put these in, it's a lot easier just simply to do like this. Whoops, except I can't do it at an angle while I'm filming, but you get the idea. You want to put it on the screwdriver. These are stainless steel, so they're not magnetic. There's no way to make them magnetic. And so just put them into the hole, and then just tighten it down just a little bit. So once you do that, then we'll have everything ready for positioning at that point. So I'll just go back and fast forward through here. Alright, we are done getting these to be in here. So what we want to do now is make sure that everything is flush, perfectly flush, and the corners all look good, everything's in place. And if you grab a hold of it and you kind of give it a twist, you'll know that it's sitting in place. And so the very first thing we want to do when we tighten these down fully is we want to tighten these 2 fully. So we're going to do that, and then we can go ahead and tighten. In this particular keyboard, it doesn't really matter what the order is. I still like to try to do the tops and the bottoms, and then the centers, and then the 4 corners. It doesn't much matter. So the one thing about these screws, they're very short and they are extremely strong. They will strip the plastic out very easily if you over tighten them. So we're just going to tighten them till they're snug. We don't have to deform the circuit board at all. The whole goal of this is to hold this in place. The only 2 screws that really need to be tight are these 2, and that's it. Everything else just needs to be snugged down so that it holds the board in place. So I will fast forward through this part of it as well, I'm sure. Okay, we'll stop real quick and say that once you tighten these, just make sure this whole thing is flat. When you look at it, it should look like this. There should be the same amount of gap between all of this. So you can see inside of here, there's where this sits flat, and this whole thing should be perfectly flat. And these posts should be flush with the bottom of the board on both sides, and it'll be very, very strong once you do this. So we'll tighten the rest of the screws now. Alright, so now it is all tightened, and when you grab a hold of this and try to flex, it's stiff. And when we bolt the case halves together, it's going to be even stronger. It doesn't really need to be that strong, but that's how it turned out. So just make sure, again, double check, make sure this is nice and flat. And you can see the damage I was talking about when I did. This is nice and flat as well to the case. Everything looks good. Right now we're going to get our bag of M3 screws, and we're going to pull those out. There's 10 of those, and we're going to get the lid. So this is the lid. Already has all the metal inserts in place. Now at this point you could put the keycaps on. It's a lot easier in general, really, put the keycaps on at this point because you can see better at an angle when you're tipping the keyboard. Either way, it's fine. I typically put the case on first, but there's one thing we have to put in place first. So this is designed to have a circuit board put in here, something that I designed towards the end of the campaign. I don't have them available yet, but I went ahead and put that in to the tooling. And so in our package, which we can open, we'll pull all these things out of here too, we're going to need them. We have a plate. Basically, this is a block-off plate, so it doesn't have a big gaping hole in the back. And you can see this is a DB9 format, so it's got a little bit of angles to it. You just want to have the same angle lined up in here. So there's a slot in here that it just goes in, so you just put it in the slot. You do that first before we put the lid on it. Otherwise, you're going to be going back and redoing it. So just put the lid in place on top of it, and you'll see that how this all fits in the back. It's a nice block-off plate. And at this point, what you need to do is just put the screws in. So they can just drop in the point, and you can screw them in opposite corners typically. So it's going to take a little bit, so I'm going to fast forward. And I'll stop right there for a sec. You don't have to really tighten them very tight, because we don't want to do that at first anyway. So we'll just put them in loosely, just kind of snug, but not like super tight at all. Probably should make a note too, is that the surface that you work on, make sure it's nice and smooth. If you can put a cloth down, that's great, probably a good idea. That way you don't damage the surface of this. Like if you had a screw under here for some reason and I got onto this rubber piece, it's going to just damage it. You don't want to do that. So I know my surface is clean, smooth. Okay, so they're all in and relatively snug and tightened down. So what we need to do now really is just to tighten each one of them. And if you notice it, you can kind of feel these actually stick up, these stems. So when you push down on it, you're going to feel a little bit of a squish because of the stems are actually touching the surface. So I just put it flat. This is one of the reasons why I don't like doing it with the keycaps in place. It's a lot easier to do it this way. And just snug these screws up. They don't have to be super tight. It's not a contest if you can make it the tightest. Just tighten them down. But try to keep this thing as flat as possible when you do that, because this is also going to add all the rest of the structural integrity to the assembly. I didn't tighten that one very much. Okay. Alright, so now when you grab a hold of it and you twist on it, it's going to be pretty stout. I mean, probably more so than your regular PC keyboard is by quite a bit. I've got one from China that can actually really flex a lot. So you can see that the block-off plate worked perfect. So now what we've got to do is put the remainder of the parts in place. And those would be the rubber pieces. These are actual pads They go here and they go here. And there's just a piece of 3M adhesive on the back. So you just peel it like this. And take your time. Set it in place. And then just push down on it. Same thing with this one. We're just gonna peel it like that. And put it in place. And we're just gonna push down on it. Okay, so the kits, they come with this. This is how I had these made. Instead of doing injection molding, I opted to have these resin printed. So these were actually resin printed by JLCPCB. And they do a nice job. But to do this at one piece and get them the same color, which is kind of a key thing for them, you really want to put them as one together. Okay, so there's actually two pieces. There's this standoff piece here, which is the feet part of the, and then there's the base part of it. So these both have to be broken apart, and so you want to make sure that you break them this way, like this. And basically, if you hold the back side of this, you just careful to do this. And if you do it wrong, you're going to have like a divot out of here, which you don't want. So when they're like this part here, you might take a pair of side cutters like these. I get the camera to focus. There we go. And you can cut them off like this, or you can try breaking them some more. What you don't want to do is pull it so that it actually snaps a big section out of here. I'll show you why. So when I was actually doing this video, I was going to show you how to do it wrong, and I did. So this is what happens. It takes a big chunk out of your foot, so if you break it the wrong way. So break it the way I just showed you, and then at that point you can use a pair of side cutters to clip them. And then you can either try to do your side cutter like this, like I just did there, or you can sand it. So you're going to want to sand that flat really, to make it look nice. Same thing with this side here. So once you get those cut away, then you can grab the base plate, and the bases are this kind of same thing. You break it this way, the same way, slowly. And that way it gets them apart, and then you can use side cutters to clip the little piece, and then you can also, at that point, you can sand it to make it look pretty. So I probably won't sand this one. Okay, so we've got our individual pieces, and what we need to do is assemble it. So you're going to take the base, and notice that this has holes in them, here and here, and you notice that this has little pegs here, here and here. So the idea is that this is going to be inserted into here like this, and so to do that, we just take this at an angle. So you can put this at an angle like this, and you just kind of wiggle it until it kind of sits flush. And then what you're going to do is you're going to apply pressure, and both of these little gaps here are going to compress, and it's going to snap in place like that, and then like this. And to close it, you just go like this. So that's the entire foot. So we'll build our other one real quick. Again, we're going to put this into this hole. We're gonna wiggle it. There we go, like that. It snaps in place. There. Okay. So that's it. All right. So to attach these, you have to use glue, and I don't provide any glue for it, but they just go in this pocket here. And you can use double sticky tape if you wanted to, or glue. I happen to use a product in the US called Shoe Goo, and it's basically it's like a rubber cement almost. And so actually I will go ahead and apply This one I'll just show you. I just do a little dab in the middle because you really don't need much because we're just holding this piece in here. So I'm just going to take it, just going to push it in here. I'll close that, I'll collapse it, and I'll just push it in place. And that's good. The glue dries in about probably 20 minutes or so, this does. So let's put a little smush on there. You don't want too much, otherwise it'll start coming out the edges. So the idea is just to have enough to put it in place. So this we don't have to worry about sanding the leading edge here because it's actually hidden in here. Just make sure there's enough off of it so it doesn't obstruct the positioning. And then these can be sanded if you want them to make it look better later on. So that's it. So when I set this down now, it's going to set perfectly on those feet we just put on. Okay. Guess what's next? Keycaps. So depending on what color keycaps you got, your order of what you do things in. If you've got 5 or 6 sets of keycaps, then you're going to be mixing and matching colors. Trust me, people do. Then that's what you'll want to be figuring that ahead of time. Otherwise, if you to put these in, it's very simple. There's a little plus that's in the keycap itself. You can see that's a receptacle for the stem, and the stems are like a plus symbol. So if we line this up and push it down, so as soon as you start pushing, you'll feel it kind of like move onto the post, and then it'll be there. So you can see this is not fully down yet, and when it's fully down, you'll know because you'll hear a big click. It's pretty loud, actually. So then you can scream out 1. You've got 1 done. So I will put all these keycaps on here, and I'll come back. Okay, while I was doing this, I'm just randomly grabbing keycaps. I thought I would show you that for the return key and the space bar, those are ones you've got to pay attention to. There are 3 receptacles, 3 little plus symbols on the return key, and the easiest thing to do is basically line up the middle one. And you'll notice too, if you look down here, you're going to see that these are actually lower than the stem is. That's perfectly normal, and until they actually grab inside and the wire pulls up, that's how it should be. So I will line this up so that the plus is on here, and I'll simply push down a little bit. Okay, so it starts to go down. You can feel it squishing. You can actually see it rock back and forth. And just keep pushing down until you hear the click. And then all 3 will click at the same time, basically. So that's that one. And I'm going to do the same thing with the space bar. So with the space bar, make sure you put it on the right way, because you can put it backwards. You'll have, so this is the backwards angle, and this is the correct angle. This is a beveled edge here on the back side, and there's a slope from back to front on here. So this is the proper way, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line this up so that the plus is right on here. Give a little bit of pressure. And the best thing to do is, where the stabilizers are here. You can see where the wire enters. Is simply press on each side of the stabilizer and then down slowly, and then it'll go click as well. You hear it click. And then you'll know it's correct because you can press either end of the space bar and it goes down. Alright, that was the big lesson of the day for the keyboard. I'll put this all together and I'll be back. Okay, one more lesson. Because I did not pay attention when I was putting my ASDF, so I put the F next to it. To remove a keycap, take your puller and just push it straight down, and it'll click. And then just use the little finger hole here, thumb, there, just like that. Pulls right up. So then it slides off, and you're ready to put it on to the right place next time. Okay, the end result. Our glue is already dry on these now, rubber pads. So when you set this on a desk, the rubber pads really help from sliding around. The keyboard weighs 2 pounds by itself, so it's heavy anyway, but the rubber pads are great for holding it in place. So we have one little thing left to do. So on the DB25 connector, this is designed for the C128 DCR or SX64 if you've got a cable. This also, we can make adapters for PS2 output, Amiga, like 3000, 4000, or the A1000, and basically any kind of thing we want to ever do, because there's tons of pins here and they just use a clock output or any of the keyboards. So I have this. It's included with the kit too. And what this is a DB25 cover. You can see that it's got a particular shape to it. We're just going to match the shape, and so that keeps it nice and protected when you're not using it. The board that I'm coming out with for the joystick board, it'll also have these little covers too, so you can keep those covered. So USB input, and this is an input for the, like I said, the DCR. You're going to have to make a modification to your DCR to provide power. There's a simple mod I'll have pictures and a video of. There is a pin on the header here that Commodore made for power. They just didn't put it on the motherboard for whatever reason. So you basically make a jumper wire to that pin, and then you've got power on the keyboard itself. So if you do that, do not power it with the USB at the same time. So don't plug both cables in at the same time. Just use the USB output, which will also power the whole keyboard, or just use this directly. You don't power it separately unless you have that pin disconnected. If you do have that pin disconnected from your motherboard for sure, then you have to power it through the USB connector. So I think that's about a wrap. We've got the entire keyboard assembled. Looks pretty amazing actually, and it works incredibly well. And so this is all opaque keys. So I'm going to make a video with either this keyboard or another one that shows you the amount of light that passes through these little gaps here, because there's only a 1mm gap around the entire thing. And it looks pretty tight, but light passes through really easily. So I'll do that so people can see what it looks like. But that's it.